Yes, let's talk Marvel because we don't really talk Marvel on here because I'm more predominantly with DC. But let's talk Marvel. So the Disney Fox deal is pretty much done, which means Kevin Feige is going to get his hands on the Fantastic Four and X-Men. Now, in terms of the Fantastic Four, I think it's a very generic kind of piece. So you could, I mean, I could trust, and you can trust, and we can all trust Kevin Feige to do an awesome version of the Fantastic Four. Certainly more better than we've seen Fox do before, and I think it would be awesome. The problem Feige's going to have is when he tries to do something with the X-Men. Now, his big decision is Wolverine and Logan. What do you do with him? He's already been displayed in an iconic fashion by Hugh Jackman. You know, say what you want against Bryan Singer, but he directed and wrote two fantastic X-Men movies. X-Men and X-Men 2 are probably two of the best CBMs I've ever seen, and they're pretty flawless. And then we had, of course, the final Logan movie, which was amazing. So how do you do it? Let's not forget that Kevin Feige has made the MCU a very generic, family-friendly franchise. So how then do you bring Logan into it? Anyone who's, read any Wolverine comics will tell you how brutal this guy is. Even Bryan Singer and Hugh Jackman didn't display how brutal, the full brutality of this character. Now, of course, we've seen animated versions of Logan meeting Spider-Man, and it's kind of worked. And I'd be excited to see that. But, of course, that isn't going to please everyone. The MCU can't have a Wolverine in his total, monstrous brutality. And that's going to be the issue. But because the X-Men have already been done recently, it's going to be a problem for Feige, not just in writing them, but in casting them. How can you get anyone to replace Hugh Jackman? Now, the other ones, it won't be as bad. But of course, there's big decisions to be made. We don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to start from scratch? Is he going to get involved with previous actors? What's happening with the two X-Men movies that are in development? What's going to happen? I don't know. New Mutants. What's going to happen? We don't know if that's even coming out now. My feeling is that Feige will not continue anything that Fox have done, and he'll want to start again. That's just my gut feeling. But as I say, Fantastic Four is perfect for the generic family model that Kevin Feige has created for the MCU. But in terms of Fox's X-Men, what they've done, I mean, even if you didn't like the recent movies, what Bryan Singer originally did was fantastic, and I just don't see how you can better that or even equal that. So it's going to be very, very interesting. In some corners, some people will even say what Feige's done with Spider-Man is nowhere near what Sam Raimi did with the first two Spider-Man movies, or even with the casting or the writing or anything. So there is some issues in some quarters, even with what they've done with Spider-Man. So, you bring X-Men into the mix and you see what Bryan Singer did with the cast and the films. It's very problematic for Kevin Feige. And everyone just thinks that Kevin Feige can snap his fingers and create an awesome X-Men, an awesome Logan. It's going to be very, very tricky. I'm not saying he can't do it, but there's so many ways that he could ruin this. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting what they do. Now, let's move on to Venom. A lot of people, a lot of Venom fans are really angry that Spider-Man will not feature in the Venom movie. Now, what you've got to understand the mechanics of this, is that Sony wanted Spider-Man in this film, but Kevin Feige, Disney, and Marvel Studios did not. Why? Because Venom is a very dark movie, and it's a very dark character. And again, we talk about the MCU and its generic quality and its family attraction quality. This version of Venom will not work. And this is why they don't want their Spider-Man involved in this film. So if you've got any issues, don't take it out on the film, because ultimately, I've quite liked the trailers I've seen for it, and it looks really interesting. But it is an issue because everyone's saying, how can you not have Spider-Man in a Venom movie? And I totally agree with that. Could they surprise us? No, I don't think they can. There's really interesting situations going on with the MCU because of what's going on with Guardians of the Galaxy and James Gunn. There's some problematic situations going on, but they're going to continue to make loads of money and continue to be lauded. But interestingly enough, if we go back to Feige being in charge of the X-Men, one thing they're definitely going to do, and this is one thing that Stan Lee wanted to do and did with the comics of the X-Men, is show the hatred for the mutants as a commentary to racism. Now, with what's going on in Hollywood and lots of identity politics and cultural politics going on within those movies, especially ever since Trump took over, I think they're definitely going to go that direction. They're definitely going to show us how the hatred for mutants is a commentary for racism. Again, you've got to be really, really careful that you don't go in with your size 9s and bash people over their head with it. And something I heard the Russos talk about, Captain America and Black Widow kind of getting it on. Either it's kind of in between time with Infinity War. I don't really understand I didn't read the whole article, but I did read the headline. Now, this is interesting because in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, there was great banter between Black Widow and Captain America. And I thought, well, maybe they're going to give these two a little romance. And I was really excited about that because I think both the actors have got great chemistry. But what did Joss Whedon do? He got Banner and Black Widow together, which most people didn't like. I thought it was terrible. And obviously the Russos binned that straight away, and they binned it really successfully. And also, I don't think Kevin Feige was happy with that either. He's a gentleman. He's never going to say anything against Joss Whedon. But it was never a good idea. But I know it's not a particularly big deal or anything exciting because we want to know other things about what's going to happen with Avengers 4, which we're not going to know anyway. All we can do is come up with theories. But I think a romance between Black Widow and Captain America would be awesome. And I think it would complement both characters. And it would point to the fact there is a future for Captain America. I don't want to see Captain America die. I still believe in Avengers 4 it will be Iron Man, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., who makes the ultimate sacrifice. That will work. I don't know what Robert Downey Jr.'s future is within the MCU. I mean, there's been hints for about, well, I'd say nearly 3 or 4 years people have been saying they're going to kill him off. He's going to go. He's certainly not getting any younger. It depends on the actor and how he feels. He's the highest paid actor within the MCU. He's making a pretty penny, but he will be going into production with Sherlock Holmes 3 as well. I mean, he can do both. He can do both, of course, because there's no Iron Man movie. He turns up, he cameos. Obviously, he had a lot of screen time in Infinity War. He's going to have a lot of screen time in Avengers 4. But there's, he can still be involved with both franchises. But I certainly love Chris Evans as Captain America. And I think in modern day CBM terms, he's as close as we've ever seen to an actor doing as well with a superhero as Christopher Reeve did with Superman and Clark Kent. I think that, Chris really, really does get to the core of what Captain America and Steve Rogers is. So I am actually really interested in all that. So it's going to be interesting moving forward what Kevin Feige does with the MCU, because he's at a situation now where he has got issues to solve. We've got Captain Marvel coming out next year as well. We're not hearing much about her. Obviously, there'll be lots of marketing, more marketing. I believe she's going to be in Avengers 4. So that's why probably they're staying quiet about the Captain Marvel movie. So it'll be exciting to see her. I would say that Kevin Feige and Disney need to shut Brie Larson up a bit, because she is kind of going over the top with politics and going on about not caring about what white critics think. These are things you don't want to hear your actors talking about, because it triggers some of the people that are going to go and pay to watch your films. So don't do it. So an exciting time for both the MCU and the DCU. But again, I will stress that doing the X-Men for the MCU is very problematic. It's not going to be easy, and it'd be very interesting how they go at this.